Hello. Hi everyone. Hi everyone. Good to see you. Thanks for beginning to log in. I've logged in a minute early just to get like a heads up on what we're talking about today. We're talking about building a sustainable brand. We're talking about building a brand on the basis of hemp. So yeah, we're talking to Boheco India. They're an amazing brand, which I'm sure most of you know about. Clothing, food, they do it all. And I'd love for you to hear from them about what they do today. That's the reason I've got them on board, because I think that we all need to move to a more sustainable life. I can't really force it on you, but it's something I can suggest. So I'm just gonna bring them on board. Hi to everyone saying hello. Thanks for being here. Good to see you. Hi Amrita. I hope the change is good. Hey little design story. Good to see you. Talking to Yash India today. I'm bringing him on now. We're talking about sustainable living, hemp, and different products. Hi Yash.
Hi,
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 how are
hi.
you?
Very well. Thank you so much. How are you doing?
Good to see you. Thank you for being here today.
No, my pleasure. Thank you for having me. Thank you so much for doing this.
Today we're talking about a very interesting topic, which of course I'm sure you must be talking about every day because it's your business, it's your life, and it's something that you've, really built with Boheco. And it's something that I've been meaning to talk to my community about, because I think it's something much needed in today's times, and it's a change that we can bring about.
Right. No, I'm
So
quite excited to share a lot about what we do and how we do it and our philosophy. And yeah, I mean, the conversation really excites me. What's in store today?
awesome. So I'm going to start by letting you tell us a little bit about Boheco. I understand you have many brands under this umbrella. So if you could tell us a little bit about that.
Of course, of course. Right. So Boheko is a short form for Bombay Hemp Company. Right. Bombay Hemp Company started in the year 2013, but we started working on ideation and we started working on this idea back in 2010. Right. Now, how the idea came up, it was a very interesting story, right? And a lot of people really enjoyed when we share it.
Yeah.
We were seven co-founders, right? Unusually, I mean, not a lot of companies out there have such a big team of co-founders,
Yeah.
right? And all seven of us co-founders are from HR College here in south of Bombay, right? And all of us used to be a part of the student initiative called Project Chirag, which was a student rural electrification project, right? And it was an entire social project where all of us founders, we used to go to different villages and help them with solar electrification, right? So there was an entire CSR model that we developed around this site, and it had nothing to do with hemp or cannabis. It was just solar electrification.
Okay.
By the end of our college, we finished almost 100 villages, right? So it picked off really well. Now, during that, interaction with the village folk and with the villages, we saw that every 100 kilometers, everything changed from people to language to food to culture. But there's one thing that was constant, that was used constantly across all villages, and that was cannabis, right? People in these villages were using it for subsistence uses. Yes, there were a lot of people using it for recreational uses, but a wide number of people were using it either to make ropes to tie their cattle, or they would use it as food because their forefathers have been consuming hemp seeds in their diet. Or people are making winter wear, juttis, things like that. So there was no economic value. It was just subsistence, local use of the crop. Now that's when we came in, where we realized that, okay, this crop outside of India has been considered as the $1 trillion super crop, right? And it has a big future that lies ahead of them. But people in the Indian villages had no idea as to how do we use this crop. So we came in and we said that, okay, we have nothing to lose. Most of our peers and friends from colleges were either working in tech-based startups or apps or social media. Nothing against it, with all due respect,
Yeah.
but we completely thought that agriculture, which is the backbone of this country, was being neglected.
Yeah.
Right, 60% of India's workforce depends on agriculture for a livelihood, but its contribution to the GDP is less than 15%. Now that didn't make any sense to us. As economic students in college, and it was the problem right in front of us, right?
Yeah.
So we
Yeah.
said, how do we deal with it? And the solution was that a lot of people were moving away from agriculture. Even the village folk didn't want to continue working in the space because it's extremely intensive, the
Yeah.
entire industry. And owing to that, a lot of people were migrating and doing substandard menial jobs in cities, but not walking away from this. So we said, okay, why don't we work with a solution that kind of holds them back, has a
Yeah.
lucrative economic opportunity, because we want people to stay in agriculture, right? And we also wanted more young people such as ourselves to focus on agriculture as an industry. So
Yeah.
how do we do that? We identified, for lack of a better word, we need to make this industry sexy, right? And how do we do that? We said that no better crop than cannabis, right? So that's how cannabis came in front of us. For us, the end was agriculture, but the means to that end was hemp and cannabis. And yeah, one thing led to the other. As it now stands, we have put in a lot of work with regards to setting up the entire industry, from farmers to policymakers, industry partners, the consumer, all of them. Because when we started out, we weren't just starting a new company, we were starting a whole new industry, right? So we did all of that, and as it stands, we are India's premier industrial hemp and medicinal cannabis organization, with research licenses in partnership with government and government institutes in states like Uttarakhand, Uttar Pradesh, and Jammu and Kashmir. And of course, we're working with a lot more other states with regards on a very consultative basis, because we've tried to understand what's happening globally and how can we Indianize that policy and make it more relevant to us. So yeah, you can say the first 5 years up until 2018 went in exploration, where we were exploring the industry with regards to aligning science and policy. But 2018 onwards, we went from an exploration mode to an exploitation mode, where we started rolling out a lot more products, right? Made from the fiber with regards to our textile and garments based offering, products made from the hemp seeds with regards to the nutritional based offerings,
Yeah.
and lastly, products from the cannabis leaves for its medicinal and therapeutic uses. So yeah, in a nutshell, in a hemp nutshell, this is what we do, and this is how far we've gotten with regards to the industry.
Awesome. That's really awesome. Thanks for giving us the brief. We have Mommy Diaries Tanya here who says, I'm obsessed with the CBD products. We get them from the States. So happy to see this coming here. He's has amazing benefits. Can't do without it for my skincare routine. So Boheko has been here
Right.
for a while, guys. You must check it out. They're not something new. And where are the products available?
So we have three main websites through which we sell our products. We have a very B2B focused website which is called hempfabriclab.com, where we sell hemp-based fibers, yarns, and fabrics through that website. We have B Label, which is hemp-based garments and accessories. So the shirt I'm wearing right now is a 100% hemp shirt that you can get on B Label. Plus the accessories which are made by women artisans of Uttarakhand. So what we've done is we don't only work with the environmental aspects of hemp, but we also combine it with the social and economic benefits also that this plant can provide. And we always try to combine all of these things. So yeah, B Label is a source for hemp-based garments and accessories. And Boheco Life, which is the newest baby in our entire portfolio that was just launched in 2019 February, through which we sell our hemp nutrition and cannabis wellness products. So things like hemp seed oil, hemp seed powder. We in fact even have oils with CBD in it for skin health, for arthritis, and we have a prescription-based product for chronic and neuropathic pain, such as pain management, which is led by a prescription process and their doctors and that entire shebang. So Hemp Fabric Lab, B Label, and Boheco Life are the three babies through which we sell our products.
Awesome, awesome. So that's great, Tanya. I hope you got your answer. Don't buy it from anywhere else, but let's support local because they are doing this now, and that's great. I do have a few questions, so I will take them before I start, Yash. Nitya Arora's
Sure.
here. Hi, Nitya, and she says, "What should anyone pick? Why should anyone pick a hemp shirt over an organic cotton?"
Oh, wow. Okay. That's a great question. That's one question that we get asked quite often because cotton is a gold standard for natural fibers, right? Especially in India, which is the largest grower and exporter of cotton. Why hemp, right? There are many uses from an agriculture standpoint. Firstly, I'll cover. It requires zero to no pesticides in order to grow, compared to cotton, which is an extremely pesticide intensive crop, right? And by the end of it, your soil is kind of quite scorched, and farmers don't have good conditions to grow their next cycle, and then they have to put more chemicals in order to replenish it. So it's a never-ending cycle. So firstly, in that point of view, zero to no pesticides. It requires 400 times lesser water than cotton to grow, right? So when you compare that, and in terms of the tensile strength, which is the strength of the fabric, it is 8 times more, right? So again, it's a no-brainer when it comes to a comparison with cotton from an agriculture or an environment point of view. But from a garment point of view, like I mentioned, it's the strongest natural fiber known to man. So one very interesting anecdote, right? Back in the day, during the times of Cleopatra and Egyptians, when they were thriving, right? The only kind of textile up until the 1820s known to man was only hemp, right? And in fact, during Cleopatra's time, all the ropes that they used in order to pick up the pyramid blocks were all made from hemp fiber. And the reason for that was that there was no other fiber strong enough to kind of pick the weight of that crop. So it is the strongest natural fiber. And the more you wear a hemp garment, it wears in rather than wearing out. So it's a lot like wine. It ages very gracefully, right? So your colors might fade because it's not from hemp, but your shirt will definitely last you a lot. The very first hemp shirt that I bought back in 2015, I still own it, I still wear it, and it's still as good as new. So it's a no-brainer when it comes to that. In terms of its technical superiority, it's 98% UV resistant compared to a cotton, which is about 90%. It's 100% hypoallergenic in nature, which means any staph or bacteria that's attached to your body, it immediately gets killed. That's why there's this new fad of a lot of people making hemp masks. And we supply fabrics to a lot of these companies, and that's mainly because of its hypoallergenic properties. So these are some of the reasons. I can go on and on and on. In my mind, it's a no-brainer, right? But however, I just want to make one point to that, is that just buying a hemp shirt, one cannot say that I'm supporting the sustainable movement or I'm eco-friendly and things like that, right? The mindset that is attached, yes, it is one way in which you could say that, but the whole idea about sustainability is wear it less, slow fashion, right? Which means that don't keep buying, right? So even if it's hemp or not hemp, the idea is that if you stay true to yourself and buy limited in number, then you're definitely supporting the cause of sustainability.
Awesome, awesome. Thanks for that. Thanks for the detailed explanation. So we have a question from Kavya. I'll just take it. Kavya says, how does one educate the Indian audiences about the benefits? Because there's a social stigma attached with it. Correct. Good question.
Right. Great. No, a really good question. So if
Yash,
you
I
see
think
the
that,
mission,
everyone's asking the questions I had for you. I'll have no questions left.
no, it's fine. It's fine. I think this is the best way to have
Yeah, it's
conversations.
good.
I think
It's
some
good.
really good questions
Yeah.
yeah, stimulate. Right. So no, just to answer that question. So the mission and the mission of Bombay Hemp Company is educate, cultivate, elevate. Right. Educate is the very first word, and I'm laying emphasis on it because a crop like cannabis does not require one to learn about something new. Rather, the one would require to unlearn and relearn, right? Because cannabis as a crop has a myopic mindset attached to it, right? Because of the way it's being used all this while recreationally per se,
Yeah.
right? And how do you kind of get rid of the stigma? The idea, what we really do, and I think we do it well as well, is that we embrace it, right? Instead of running away from it, right? If, I don't know if you can see the leaf behind me, it's right out there, right? Because we like to talk about it, right? We want to shift the entire narrative from cannabis being dope to it being hope, right? And I can say that in a lot of different ways, be it its medicinal uses, be it its industrial uses, and name it, hemp can make it, right? So how do we go about education is just by putting facts of cannabis right in front of the user, such as, for example, if you ever walk by our an event or where we have our stall,
Yeah.
right outside our stall, we have this big board which says "Bhang ke kapde," right? And what that essentially, that is a very inviting thing. Imagine you walking and you reading something like that, you will definitely walk in and it'll pique your interest that, what is really going on here. And that is the best icebreaker, right? People actually, the most common question that we've asked since day zero till now is that if I wear this shirt, will it get me high? Right? The question might seem a little, off, but to be honest, we love it, right? Because at least people are open to having a conversation like that.
Yeah.
No other cotton shirt company is going to be asked that question, and
Yeah.
they're going to be sold on design and color and fit and price and all of that. Whereas we have an opportunity to plug our entire story in this, right? So it's beautiful. We put it right in front of them. We talk to a lot of different industry experts, a lot of networking events. We're out there. I mean, you just have Boheko in the news, and you'll see that organically over the last 7 years, we've been covered over 300 times, right? Because there is that sense of story that comes with cannabis. So I would say that what the image and impression was of cannabis 7 years ago, which merely was a Bob Marley t-shirt, right? I do think that we have been able to change it quite a
Yeah.
bit with regards to how people look at it and perceive it, and it's great. It's just conversations, really, to be very honest.
Yeah, yeah. So tell me, Yash, would you call yourself an aspirational brand because of the use of cannabis and the way it's portrayed? I know you are going with a very local feel, and I love, like, I have seen your stall at the Little Flea as well. It's so well done.
Yeah.
So what's your take on the brand image?
Right. So I do think it is an aspirational thing to own a cannabis based product, right?
Yeah.
People these days, especially the consumers, are not buying products. They want to buy a story. They want to buy something they can resonate with. They can talk about it. It's the age of Instagram, right? People like talking a lot about their possessions. And cannabis does give people a unique opportunity in order to talk about it. But more than the physical aspects or these aspirational values of the product, it's more about the technical and the functional values of the product, right? Where when people use it, right, and this is, I'm saying real time feedback, right? When people use hemp and cannabis based products, be it a shirt or be it a packet of hemp seed, right, people really love indulging in them, and the repeat purchase is extremely high, right? Because they can see, I mean, I wouldn't say the effects of that are seen overnight, but if one uses it continuously, it's definitely something that people would like to own and possess. And I think this is the age of mindful consumption. Brands that are more sensitive towards the environment, towards their farmers, or the support system that works with them. And if a brand can echo all of those values, I think it's definitely a great buy and a great pick for a consumer. And and cherry on top is if it's made from cannabis, then why not? So yeah, I do think that there is a lot of scope for brands in the cannabis space.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a question from Nishi who says, what's the difference in the price range of hemp versus cotton? This is actually a great question
Right.
because, yeah, it kind of knows
Right.
where your brand is. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, hemp and versus cotton at a raw material level is very different. The comparison versus an end garment level, right? So if I talk about the raw material level first, hemp right now is a dearer commodity compared to cotton, right? India is a land of cotton farmers where 90% of the water that's irrigated in India goes towards a cotton field, right? Whereas hemp right now, there are only a few select states. In fact, only one state that has given the permission to grow this on a commercial level. So demand and supply. If I were to, so it's apples and oranges, to be very honest. If I were to compare it, then if the supply was as much, hemp would definitely be a lot more cheaper than cotton, right? Given that the per acre is the output that you get from hemp is a lot more. It's at least 4 times more than cotton. That number one. And number two is hemp is a 100-day crop, which means that the crop from the sowing stage to the harvest stage, it only takes 100 to 120 days compared to a cotton plant which takes anywhere between 6 to 9 months depending on the grade of the cotton. So technically you can grow 2.5 cycles of hemp in a year. Thereby the farmer can make a lot more in an acreage level. But as it stands, cotton is way more cheaper. Secondly, at the garment level, I would not compare it with cotton. Of course, depends on the brand value that comes with that cotton garment. But I would compare it to, say, like an Irish linen, which is the finest grade of linen,
Yeah.
right? Which is sold at about 1,000 plus per meter, right? Hemp is well under that, right? And the idea, what we're also trying to say is, don't replace cotton. No, that's not the smartest thing to do. There are a lot of people also thriving on that. why don't you mix cotton and hemp, right? In fact, the fastest selling fabric that we have is a hemp and cotton, organic cotton blend, and that to 55% hemp, 45% organic cotton. So that is the whole idea. It is what it is. I think in times to come, and once the industry grows significantly, the price is also definitely going to stabilize, and it'll be available a lot more affordable. But if
Yeah.
you see the way we price our shirt, an average price point is about 2,000 rupees a garment, right?
Perfect.
Average, which is what one would pick up typically from like a brand like H&M, Zara, or
Yeah. Yeah.
those typical brands, right?
Yeah.
So we as a brand are extremely conscious about the price point. We don't focus on margins and as much. We want to focus on reach and frequency, that more people can adopt a newer lifestyle, and we always keep that at the back of our head when pricing our products. So yeah, I mean, we're getting there is what I'm
Awesome.
trying to say.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
Great, great to know. We also have a
Yeah.
question which I've been thinking about since you started, from Nitya, who says, "You're our 7 partners, which can be challenging. Due to difference of opinions, how do you navigate those issues?" Great question, Nitya, because I find it very hard to work with someone else. So if I had 6 other partners, I might have died. But how is it? How is it for you? What's it like?
Yeah, no, sure. See, the good side is all of us are alive and kicking, so there's no worry there,
Yeah.
right? But yeah, you're right. And on the flip side, there are differences in opinions when there are, 7 people working on like a common vision with different approaches. There is definitely conflict, of course. Like there is, I mean, there's no way there is no conflict. But I think that conflict also comes together for a better output, right? The idea is that all of us since day zero, we were extremely cognizant of the fact that we might have differences. The best way to deal with differences is by having open communication. Put your point across. By the end of it, doesn't matter which of the co-founder wins. The name on the board, which is Bombay M Company, has to win. So one way or the other, make it happen. But even keeping that in mind, apart from that, what we did was very strategically, and because we're 7 co-founders, we're able to do a lot of things that we do. We divided our entire functions and businesses as per the founder's roles and responsibility, and everyone has full autonomy in that area. So there's one farmer who takes care of, say, legal and supply chain, the other takes care of operations, someone takes care of marketing and sales, finance. So we gave it away to different co-founders to lead that, and you have full autonomy on that. And of course, with board related matters where there's a common consensus needed, we do try to kind of make sense of each other's points. But then if it doesn't work, then we're 7 people, and it goes down to voting, and usually there is no tie, right? So we let that decide. But we're very open and mature about our entire relationship. The last time it happened with 7 co-founders was Infosys, right? And we all know how that did. So, I mean, if you put your ego aside, then I don't think anything is difficult to achieve.
I completely agree. What you said at the last is the most important. I think everyone just needs to like divide your roles and responsibilities and take it forward from there. So
Right.
that's great. I also want to ask you in terms of your clientele and your audience. I know we have a lot of questions, guys, but I'm just trying to go in a little a sequence of what I'm asking. I will take your questions. Don't worry about that. So in terms of your clientele, did you envision a certain clientele or a certain a person who uses any of your products, and has it been different than what you envisioned? If you could share.
Right. So we Boheko as a company, we've been very agile, right? Since day one, we didn't have a very fixed target audience set in our mind that we're going to chase them. We were very open-ended. The initial aim was that we want to, make sure that this industry thrives, and then we'll take care of the other problems as and when,
Yeah.
right? But especially since 2018, we became very focused towards launching more products in the market, right? And of course, the initial target audience was to talk to, how would I put it, people in the age group of 25 plus, people who are very well traveled, very well acquainted to the internet, things like that, who have seen a thriving hemp and cannabis industry. Basically, we were chasing the early adopters, right? People who might have seen the industry outside of India. So, and people who would, not just buy because a brand is marketing that product. They would go online, they would read about it, and the set of mindful consumers. So of course we started targeting that, but when we started doing a lot of our not just online campaigns but even our offline events and exhibitions, we realized that it's not just limited to that. It's even the older generation. That people kind of are very receptive to that, and of course because we have so many brands and verticals, the idea was to curate the TG as per the products that we have, right? So it's very dynamic across the board, where for Hemp Fabric Lab we mainly look at designers, brands, innovators, creators to pick up and create more hemp garments and let that industry get commoditized. Whereas for B label, it is it's day and night, where someone who has a very fast paced life, who goes to work in the morning and then has a social obligation later in the day. So how do we kind of occupy ourselves in that entire scenario? And we also realized on day one that hemp alone would not be the answer. People want good looking clothes, they want it at a good price. Oh, it happens to be hemp, right? That's how the story also changed, where instead of pushing the whole agenda of slow fashion, sustainable clothing in people's eyes, kind of also had people shy away from it, and they're like, why are you being so preachy, right? Where when we just started saying that, oh, this garment looks good, and things like it's priced well and it happens to be hemp, the receptiveness was a lot more, right? So we started focusing on all the other physical attributes also, which was beyond the storytelling bit. And yeah, we have people buying our product from a 19-20-year-old who buys our shirt to a 60-year-old grandmother who buys our arthritis pain oil for her joint pain. So the it's extremely dynamic. I cannot put a finger on what exactly is my TG. It's just, yeah, touch wood, we've got a fairly wide TG owing to the kind of product offering we have.
Absolutely, yeah, that's great, and it's so nice to have such a large, TG, because a wide TG, like, because I mean, it could be like you're in an event with a family, and every person in that family can possibly buy any product from your stall. So that's
Absolutely.
yeah, that's great.
Something for everyone. Yeah.
Something for everyone. The next thing I want to ask you, which you mentioned earlier, is about sustainable living. And you mentioned that just by buying a shirt doesn't mean you're living a sustainable life. So today, I feel like the awareness of sustainability and living a more sustainable life is much more. Especially during this lockdown, I feel like people have gotten more educated and more conscious. So can you tell us a little bit about how, by using your products, we can be more sustainable, and what's your idea about the sustainable movement?
Right. No, I'll tackle the second question first, my idea about sustainability. Sustainability is not just a shirt or a pack of food, it's a whole mindset, right? Every single thing that you do, from waking up to sleep, going back to sleep, you need to be mindful of the consumption you're making, right? From not wasting electricity to not wasting water at home. And there's small things, right? So that is sustainability in my opinion, right? It's just not endorsing one brand or one product, and you can't be sustainable if you're going to buy 10 of the shirts in a quick succession. You're not being sustainable, right? You're over consuming, and there is a load on the planet. So that's my idea of sustainability, and that's what we're also trying to do with Boheko. That ties in with this mindset, where we have a product for you from the time you wake up till the point you go to sleep, and we want to see how we can plug hemp and cannabis in it. Also, sustainability, a lot of people talk about sustainable in an environmental sense, but sustainability have a lot of parameters and factors. There is socially sustainable, there is economically sustainable, environmentally, and things like that. And because sustainability is largely being used with regards to it in the fashion sense or in the environmental sense, it's kind of misused, I'd say, or abused as a word, right? And being sustainable, I mean, how would I put it? It's very easy, but it's very tough to explain at the same time, right? So that's the whole point of sustainability. If you see in terms of our packaging, we use, especially in B label, there is zero usage of plastic, right? With regards to our Boheco Life based offerings, which are our food, the nutrition and wellness based offerings, we use only 5% plastic, and that plastic is also used as an inner lining so that the product doesn't get spoiled. But we are extremely mindful of using recycled paper or cardboard boxes, or be it glass bottles over plastic bottles. Using glass bottles also has its unsustainable angle, but we are trying to see how can we make the most of it, because if you go to see plastic as a material, is the best and the worst material on the planet. worst because of its environmental ill effects, but best because of its functional attributes, right? Functionally, it's an extremely strong and solid material, and no other material can come even close to it. So it's kind of occupied a certain space in the society, thereby making it irreplaceable. There are alternatives to plastic, but it's very tough to get rid of it. But we are always conscious about the fact, and we shy away from using any kind of plastic, but then we try to make sure that we work around it. With regards to our products, yeah, hemp as a crop, innately as a character of the crop is very sustainable. Be it socially because it's a very labor friendly and a gender friendly crop, because agriculture as an industry usually is very male dominated because it involves a lot of physical labor. But when it comes to hemp, it's a very gender neutral crop. We in fact, even in terms of the social angle, we made sure if the man is harvesting the crop, the women are semi processing it. Thereby we setting up our entire unit, which kind of works with, of course, it's in partnership with a local body, but the unit that manufactures a lot of handicraft based items and hand woven accessories, right? And women, there are 150 women artisans from Uttarakhand who work on that, right? So that is the entire social side. Environmental side, hemp as a crop is innately sustainable, and we as an organization, it's a big part of our entire roster as well. So we be very careful. And economic sustainability is just by making sure that the farmer groups or all the support partners that work with us get the fair minimum wage price that they get from other crops. And because we are pioneers of the industry, we made sure we set up an MSP structure because the industry was unorganized. So we gave a certain tag because the government is yet to come out with those things. But we've been responsible as a company, and we've set some of these standards on our own accord. And yeah, that says a lot about how we look at sustainability.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. There's a question.
Sorry, I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now? Hear me now?
No, not at all. I don't know what's wrong.
Okay. Should I
Strange.
you from the Saladiba?
Sorry, I can't hear you at all.
It's echoing. Once. Guys, give us a minute. I will add Yash back. Yeah. I know it's echoing. Thanks for that, guys. Hi, can you hear me?
I'm so sorry. Yeah, much better. Thank you.
Okay, super. So we didn't lose the question. So we have a question. So a lot of people are asking how it is legal for you to do this business in India. I think that's one thing they want you to touch upon. There are about 4 questions like that. And the second, what licenses you don't really have to mention that, but maybe how it's legal. The other thing that Nishi has asked is, have you conducted a market research regarding the medicinal properties and how it works on other people?
Right. No, both great questions. And also the first one we get asked a lot, that how are you managing to do this, right? So yeah, at the very onset, right, when we started out, we first thought ourselves as agriculture entrepreneurs. But when we started working on this crop and started getting deeper into this, we realized that we're policy entrepreneurs more than anything else, because how do you navigate all of these things is extremely critical, right? So we at the very beginning, what we did was, there is one thing about which is reading the law, but more importantly, what's more important is the interpretation of that law, right? So some of my co-founders who do have some kind of technical understanding about the legal aspects of this, we deep dived into the law, we started understanding, and we realized that hemp and cannabis was never banned. And that was the biggest misconception that people had. Cannabis actually falls in the concurrent list, which means that in a very layman term, I'm going to explain this, which means that the central government is going to draft the guidelines to implement this as a policy. But each and every state government has their own power to set the rules and regulations of how they look at it. It's similarly how it happens in the US, right? At federal level, it's illegal, but at the state level, each state has their own policy, some recreational, some medicinal, some industrial. It's a big khichdi. Per se, right? So there was something like that in India also. What we did was we understood that since day one, and we said that okay, why don't we need a state to kind of start drafting a policy instead of chasing the central level government guys. So what we did was that we approached the state of Uttarakhand first, right? And why the state of Uttarakhand is mainly because of its social cultural significance with this crop. People have been using it a lot in that country, but beyond that, there has been a lot of religious significance in the state also when it comes to cannabis. So we realized that okay, all the bureaucrats and the people who kind of draft these rules and regulations would be well acquainted with a crop like this, right? And that's what we did. So we started working with the local bureaucrats and got their understanding, and they were very open to it. And then, of course, one thing led to the other, and then in the year 2016, the state of Uttarakhand came out with the first state in India that came out with a government order in order to regulate the cultivation of hemp and hemp, industrial hemp, less than 0.3% THC, and they came out with that policy. That was one. The other was I have to share this. It was a very interesting meeting that happened with a few kind of regulators. It was again a meeting in Delhi where we were talking to the bureaucrats from the NDPS
I can't hear
department.
you very well. Just can you adjust your phone?
No, I can't hear you again. Some strange reason.
It's echoing.
Yeah, I think we'll have to restart. Yeah.
Okay, one sec. Sorry, guys. Just 1 minute. I think it's a Instagram issue. Hi.
Back. Is this better?
Yeah, way better.
I'm so sorry. Some technical glitch, I think.
Yeah, no problem. Go ahead.
Yeah. Right. So as I was saying, so very interesting meeting that happened with a few, central level government people. We had met, and coincidentally, we met in a room called Kalpavriksh, right? Which actually means one plant, many uses, if you translate it, right?
Yeah.
So we had a meeting in that room, and very incidentally, what happened was the government was saying that why should we do this, right? Well, that was the most important question, that why cannabis, right? We put a shirt, we put a brick, and we put a packet of food in front of them. And we said, this is one plant that has a solution for roti, kapda, and makan, all the basic necessities of mankind. What happens is in India, if you go to see 60% of Indian districts, see the wild and feral cultivation, or not cultivation, sorry, growth of cannabis, right? It just grows wildly without any human effort, right? So if you go on the banks of River Ganga in states like Himachal, UP, etc., you just see cannabis growing on the side of the roads, right? And we said that you're treating this plant as a problem, and therefore you're treating it like a problem by getting chainsaws and getting rid of the plants or putting the fields on fire. If you always do this, this is going to continue. Why don't you look at this as a solution, right?
Yeah.
Why don't you just tell the farmer your biggest problem is the usage of the flower for drug use? Why don't you harvest the plant before it starts flowering? And then suddenly you can create a cottage industry where people can start developing ropes or whatever, a local industry. And they said that's a very interesting idea. We never thought of it, right? And in fact, they used to get chainsaws imported from places like Germany in order to kind of get rid of the plant. And the chainsaws would get spoilt in 2-3 days because the fiber of the hemp plant is so strong, it would get stuck in the chainsaw and it would just break. So, these were the rudimentary issues that were cropping up. And we said that, okay, the solution is right in front of us. Look at how the world is doing it. This plant originated in the Himalayas, in India, for God's sake. Why aren't we making the most of it? The other countries have taken this to another level. And owing to all of that, conversations thrived. The government started looking at us as not just as a bunch of kids trying to legalize the crop, not as revolutionaries, but rather people who were putting science and policy-based mindset together to develop a new industry that can help the farmer and the end consumer, right? Which is the most important thing. And then, of course, there were a lot of smaller nuances that happened through this entire journey. But yeah, like I said, one thing led to the other, and it was fantastic. It's just so fulfilling. And I think there was another question. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, please go.
Because you've actually taken, also you're giving so many people employment on the way. Like it's something that was going to waste, but actually you brought it together. And honestly, that's fabulous. Sorry, you were saying something.
No, I was also saying that one of the biggest problem with agriculture in India, right, if you go to see, is agri-based, right? And what I mean by that is that sometime around November, December, you will see that places like Delhi, Haryana, there's a lot of smog there, right? And more likely than not, people blame it on the firecrackers because Diwali is just gone. That is not the real culprit. The real culprit are the farms that are neighboring Delhi and Haryana and Punjab and things like that, where after they harvest their crop, they don't know what to do with the leftover. So they burn it. They put it on fire, and that leads to a lot of smoke accumulation, and then that all goes to a landlocked place like Delhi, right? Now, how do you solve for that problem? The only way to solve for that problem is innovation in the agri space. If you have a crop that you can use from with every part of the plant can be used from the root to the flower, every part can be used. So if someone can work on a plant, right, which does not involve agri waste, then I think it's a great solution. And this is something that they really kind of could digest and said that, okay, let's talk more, let's see how can we, create a very strong and solid framework for India and Indians
Yeah,
at large.
commendable, commendable. Absolutely, that's great. You're really making a change and putting news to something that wasn't earlier. I want to
Trying
also ask you. Somebody has asked this, and it was one of my questions too. What is the actual difference between CBD oil and hemp seed oil?
Right. Is the most common confusion in the cannabis
Yeah,
industry,
yeah.
right? Because, in fact, a lot of companies, and to be honest, I don't blame the consumer for thinking that way, it's the brands who are responsible. The thing is, if you go to see globally, right, and of course, India is still developing as an industry, but globally, the value of CBD or cannabis flower or leaf-based products is a lot more compared to seed-based products. The
Yeah.
value in terms of monetary value. So a lot of brands, what they do is instead of writing hemp seed oil, they would write hemp oil on their product, right? Because hemp oil technically means could be from the seed or the flower, and they overprice it, and that entire marketing gimmick is on, right? But the real difference is hemp seed oil is from the seed of the plant, right?
Okay.
And
Yeah.
cannabis oil, CBD oil, THC oil, any of these are from the flower or the leaves of the plant,
Okay.
right? Hemp seed oil is more nutritional in nature, which means that it is high in omegas, vitamin E, proteins, and things like that. Whereas the cannabis oil or hemp oil or flower leaves oil is extremely high in its therapeutic and medicinal values. Things like THC, CBD, which are extremely good for things like sleep, anxiety, pain management, more medicinal in nature, right? So this is the fundamental difference, at the lowest level. Of course, there's a scientific difference and all, but the source is completely different. One is the seed oil, the other is the leaf oil,
Oh,
fundamentally.
okay. Great, great. Thanks for explaining that. I'm going to
No.
also ask you, I know you have many different products, like we've spoken about food, clothing, the oils and stuff like that. Which, according to you, is the best product performing for you guys, and which is your favorite?
Oh, so my favorite is different from what's performing the best. My favorite is the hemp hearts. I love it. I mean, I have it in. Put it on everything from my khichdi to houseware. Right, it's an
Wow.
ingredient that I incorporate across all my dishes. But the fastest selling product in our nutrition and wellness category up until now is our hemp seed oil, owing to its dynamic and versatile nature. Because mainly because you can eat it, you can apply it on your hair and apply it on your skin. It's a multi-purpose oil. We don't play the funny marketing game of different oil for hair and different oil for food. It's the same oil. That's in the nutrition category. In fact, recently we've launched a product called pain management that is usually consumed by chronic and neuropathic pain patients, which has THC and CBD, because THC is also extremely critical from a pain point of view, right? And it is a product that you can get only if you have a valid prescription, because that product has potential of abuse and misuse, right? So it's not the law; it's just us, my company, that's being responsible and making sure that people don't misuse it. But that's been picking up a lot owing to its therapeutic aspects, especially with terminally ill patients, patients going through cancer treatments and things like that. From our entire clothing business, we have our first product, our trademark product, that is also a constant across all our cycles and seasons. It's a plain white hemp shirt, right? It goes by the name of Orbit. That is the fastest selling garment from the men's category. And of course, garments is a seasonal product. So every season there is a bestseller that keeps coming and going. But yeah, those are the products that are usually performing very well every time.
Awesome. And somebody's asked, with regards to clothing, does the brand also supply fabrics to sustainable brands?
Yeah, that's the whole idea. The idea is that we want more and more brands to adopt hemp although we have our own clothing line, we are extremely open and proactive with regards to reaching out to more designers, brands to give them more fabrics, because gone are the days of competition. We strongly believe in the age of cooperation and collaboration, right? Where the idea is Boheco does it, XYZ company does it, doesn't matter. What's most important that hemp and cannabis needs to be the real winner. And we do everything we can within our means in order to do that. So yes, we do sell fabric by the meter. If you go hempfabriclab.com, you can literally, it's an e-commerce portal. You can go and you can buy a fabric as we speak. So yeah,
Wow, that's
we
amazing.
love it. Yeah, yeah.
That's amazing. Okay, so I'm also going to ask you, you mentioned the hemp hearts and the hemp seeds that you do sell as
Right.
well. And you said you add it to everything. So is it that when you add hemp, what is like the nutritional value? Can I not have anything else for immunity? Can I not have any other homeopathy if I'm having these in my food?
No, nothing like that. Nothing like that at all. It's a simple plant-based nutritional product, right? In terms of its nutritional values, just over the top, hemp has close to 37% plant-based protein, right? Which means per 100 grams, there's 37 grams. So one tablespoon of hemp has more protein than what comes in an egg, which is 9 grams of protein, versus hemp, which is 11 grams of protein. All of the protein, mind you, is edestine protein. It's a special protein that's only found in hemp, and no other plant or animal sources have edestine in it. What actually edestine does is that any kind of protein that one consumes usually is extremely heavy for the system and is very
Okay.
tough to digest. And
Yeah.
usually it leads to bloating, right? What edestine does it makes the protein more bioavailable to your body, which means that the ability for your body to digest the protein is extremely high, right? And also, hemp is an extremely high source of dietary fiber, which means that it's phenomenal for gut health as well. So, thereby, regulating your bowel movement and things like that. Secondly, the second most nutritional aspect that comes with hemp is its omega 3 and 6 content. It has it in a 4:1 ratio, which is seldom found in vegetarian sources. It's typically found in fish liver oil, and it's a gold standard for omega, but hemp has it in the exact same ratio that your body needs it in, and thereby making it a great vegan slash vegetarian source for omegas and proteins. Then it also has calcium, vitamin E, minerals, name it, hemp has it. It's a power pack superfood, one seed with numerous benefits, and you can combine it with absolutely anything. And think of it, the hemp seeds, as like your quinoa or your flax seeds, right? You can add that to anything, same way you can add hemp to anything. The hemp seed oil, just like your olive oil, how you'd well, it's a garnishing oil. You add it on your salad, your pasta, your desserts, etc. And the hemp seed powder is just like a plant-based protein powder. So there's no ill effect whatsoever. You can just have it. Though with the cannabis medical-based products, it depends, of course, because it's more medical in nature, and every human body has a different capacity to understand and take in these kind of medical aspects. So how can one do that? There is science behind it. Depends on your sex, depends on your age, depends on your weight. So there are those kind of issues, and there is also a drug interaction. So if you're taking a medicine, say for example for
Yeah.
diabetes, right,
Yeah.
and if you're taking this, it might react in a different way. However, no real known side effects or negative effects have ever been seen, because it's plant based, right? I mean, you can't really go wrong with it. But like they say that everything should be consumed in a proportional manner. Everything in an overdose form, including even something as simple as water, can be harmful. So yeah, I mean, but there's nothing to be kept in mind when you're consuming these products. It's completely all right. My 95-year-old grandmother is on a hemp diet since the last
Wow.
6 months. So yeah, and she's fitter than ever before.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Yash, you've been so patient explaining everything in detail. Thank you for that. I'm going to take the last question, which I think two or three people have been asking is, how are your products sold without any approval, or do you have the approval?
No,
And
of
plus
course.
your testimonials. Do you get testimonials from clients that it's actually worked on them?
Right. So no, each and every product is, bases a certain licensing or a regulation regime. We
Okay.
do not support, promote, or even ourselves indulge in anything that's not by the book or is governed by the law. Because I mean, we're not here for, you either go far or you go fast, right? It's very simple.
Absolutely agree. Yeah.
We do not intend for this to be a company that's only there for the next few months. This has to be, a legacy that we really create, and that can only happen if you work with the right kind of people, the right kind of stakeholders, and we will, under any circumstance, never compromise that. Having said that, when being a little objective and specific, we work for our consumption-based products, which is Boheco Life based offerings. We work very closely with the Ministry of Ayush that governs the law of Ayurveda in this country. So all our products are approved by them. We have licenses for that. And we're very transparent. We can, even if anyone requires, we can even send across a license. It's nothing like that. And each and every product is approved under the Ministry of Ayush. Though we work with a lot of regulators, one such being is FSSAI, which is the regulator that governs food-based products. So hemp in India has not been regulated as a food source as yet, unfortunately, given to its novel nature, right? The food authority uh, has never come across how would I say it, a law for hemp-based food products and how it's
Yeah.
happening abroad. So over the last 3.5 years, we've been working as their official knowledge partners, where we're supplementing them with a lot of information and know-how. We've in fact created books and theses this big for them to go through, and we're still on the path of helping them regulate it. We're closer to it than ever before. But yeah, we work with all of these regulators for that, and I think 2020, 21, you'll even see FSSAI coming out with their own food-based, regulation. So yeah, we work very closely with the lawmakers. Any product that you see that is being sold or promoted by Boheko or through its brands are all under a certain regulation.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you, Yash. It's been super chatting with you. I think I've learned so much from this session, and I wish you all the best with all your brands because I know that you're on the right track and it's all for a purpose, you know. So it's all with everyone in mind, your customers in mind. So I really hope that Boheco Life and all the products under it are always successful. Thanks for
Thank you
joining
so
us
much.
today.
No, it was an absolute pleasure. Like I said in the start, really thank you for having me on this. I really love talking. Sometimes my passion gets the better of me. So if I've gone on a monologue, please pardon me. I'm just,
Absolutely, it was
coming from
great. No, no, it was
right.
great. I think every one of us learned so much and got to know so much more. So thank you for that. And for those asking, I will be saving this live on our IGTV as well. So you can watch this later.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Have
Thank
a
you,
good day.
Yash. See you soon.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Take care.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye. Bye.